What is going on, Swoopers? Welcome back to another episode of Swoop Luke. Swoop preview, Collingwood, Brisbane. Let's get into it. So on Friday night, Collingwood take on the Brisbane Lions at Marvel, and it is a big game for a lot of reasons, right? There's a lot of storylines to happen, especially during this round, but none bigger than the Brisbane game on Friday night. If we win, we clinch the minor premiership for the first time since 2011. That's 12 years ago, and that is absolutely huge. Could we have clinched it a couple of games before? You know, if we hadn't lost to Carlton and Hawthorn? Sure, we could have. But we have an opportunity to win the minor premiership against the Lions, and I think I think we deserve it. I know that we deserve it after the great season that we had. Yes, we've been a little bit low in the last couple of weeks, not last week, but you know the last few weeks. But what we've been able to do, especially for the majority of this season, and how we've been able to put teams away and how we've been able to win. We've been on an 8-game winning streak, a 5-game winning streak. So there's a lot of good that's got into this Pies side, and it's kind of a lead on from last year, and especially with everyone saying that we couldn't do it, you know, we couldn't make finals or anything. So I would love, and especially because Brisbane are second on the ladder at the moment, they need to win to probably solidify being second and, you know, get that home final. So it will be a very, very big test. And if we can pull this off against a top 4 quality opponent, it would be just massive for our confidence going into finals. A couple of things for this game. Brisbane, like I said, are a really good team, right? They're sitting second for a reason. And last week they played the Adelaide Crows, and Adelaide threw absolutely everything at them to try and make their way into the 8. Sure, Adelaide can still make it, but last week's win would have helped. What I noticed, and what I guess a lot of people noticed as well with that game, is that, and the past few games with Brisbane, is that they've been able to get out to a pretty big lead, but then in the last quarter they get really pegged back, and I don't really know if it's like, and I guess Collingwood did it a few years ago, where you would put the cue in the rack and say, yeah, no, we've got this, and then when you're caught lapsing a little bit, teams come out and absolutely smash you. And I guess the opposite can be said for Collingwood this season, where when we're down at 3/4 time, teams sort of go, yep, let's just try and win this game with like over-possessing the ball and all this sort of stuff. And we've been able to sort of come through and beat them and win. So I think that is going to be one of the areas where we can really, really exploit Brisbane. We're a good last quarter team. We know that. Brisbane are a weak last quarter team, especially for the last few rounds. So we can really exploit that going forward on Friday. Would I like to win the game earlier on? Of course, but Brisbane will want to overcorrect. I feel like they're going to overcorrect what they've been doing for the last few weeks, where they've been slow in that last quarter. They're probably going to want to go fast, and with our pressure, maybe that's going to make them fumble a little bit more, and then we can score goals off of that, off of those turnovers. So I think the fourth quarter is going to be a higher scoring quarter for us, and that's where we will really break Brisbane. Again, I'd love to do it earlier on in the game. Another thing about Brisbane is, in the last 6 weeks, they're ranked 16 out of 18 teams for pressure. So they don't put any pressure on the ball carrier, don't put any pressure on the team, and teams can sort of run through them. Last week against Geelong, we finally got our pressure game back. Craig McRae came out and said, that's our DNA. Our DNA is our pressure around the ball and the pressure on the ball carrier. And we just saw it. We didn't see it for a sustained 4-quarter effort against the Cats, but we saw it for the majority. The first 10 minutes in that third quarter as well, we saw it for the majority of the game. And if we can combine that sort of DNA with Brisbane's lack of pressure and Brisbane's bad last quarters and not being able to sort of hold a lead and sustain a lead, that is where the game is going to be won and lost. Now, in regard to personnel, we've had to make 3 forced changes, or we will have to make 3 forced changes. Coming out is Jordan De Goey with a glute injury, probably just not resting him, but he probably could have played if we really needed him to, if it was a final, but they're going to give him a week off, get him to recover. Bobby Hill with hamstring awareness. There hasn't been really any talk of what that is with the hamstring, but that's just a bit of awareness there. And then, of course, Darcy Moore will be out until the first week of finals. So that's one of your best midfielders, one of your best forwards, and one of your best backmen, right? How do you replace those guys? Guys are irreplaceable. We know this, you know? We talk about this all the time. They're irreplaceable. But the mentality of next man up, next soldier up, is second to none in the AFL, I feel, and that could be very biased of me to say, from this Collingwood side. Nick Dacos goes down a couple of weeks ago against Hawthorn. We were able to win that game without him. We were able to win the Geelong game without Nick Dacos and Darcy Moore because Billy Frampton was playing, so he pushes down back. And yes, it changes the dynamics a little bit, but we were able to change these players around. And it takes me back to before the start of the season. David King was going to a lot of Collingwood training sessions, and he said he said something like Collingwood are the players are like chameleons with how they position. He doesn't know anyone's position because they're all intertwining with each other. So it's like what I said in a few episodes back, where I got absolutely lambasted. It's like total football, you know. Johan Cruyff. What do I call him? John Cruyff? Johan Cruyff, right? Or whatever the pronunciation is. I'm an Aussie, so my pronunciation is going to be bad. But it's sort of that everyone knows everyone's sort of role, and they can all intertwine just beautifully. And that's what we've been seeing from Collingwood, especially with Nick Dacos going down, with Darcy Moore going down, and you know, we're now made to make forced changes. Coming into the side that we know of at the moment is Steele Sidebottom, back from his foot injury. John Noble, not coming in, but John Noble stays in the side with, you know, he had a bit of an ankle complaint, but he'll stay in. And Jacob Ryan makes his debut, which is huge. And he's not going to be making his debut as the sub. So we absolutely love that. Another debutant, our second of the year. First one was Harvey Harrison. Was Harvey Harrison's first game against the Eagles? No, I don't think it was against the Eagles. But, you know, second debutant. Jacob Ryan off the half-back line. Fast, quick, agile. I think if he's not going to be sub, I think that kind of means that maybe we put Markov back as the sub, as that super sub. I think he did okay with a full game, but I think maybe he comes back down as a super sub unless they want to, you know, maybe give Steele a half rest in game, put him as the sub, start him as a sub, and then put him on in the third quarter. I love that Jacob Ryan has got reward for effort. He's done really well in the VFL. Like I said, a running halfback, a very good kick, very quick, agile. So it's going to be interesting to see him go up against these Brisbane half forwards as well. What I would love to see, and we'll talk about this in the Team Talk video tomorrow, I'd love to see Jack Ginnivan come off the substitute and go into a full game because Bobby Hill's not there. If Markov's going to be that sub, or you know, obviously that's going to happen. I'd love to see McRae get a go. Finn McRae. He's done everything right. He's come back from that finger injury. I would love to see him get a go. If it's not against Brisbane, it has to be against Essendon. Just give him something, especially with Jordan De Goey out. Let's see what he's able to do against quality opposition. For Brisbane, there's definitely no Gunston. There's definitely no Daniel Rich. But Brisbane, you know, just their personnel is going to really stretch us thin-ish, especially without Darcy Moore. Hipwood, Danaher, Charlie Cameron kicked, 3 or 4 goals last week. You would think that Isaac Quaynor would go onto Charlie Cameron. They usually have pretty good battles. And, you know, you just got to look at the start of the year when we played them. I was in Bali. I think it was around 3 or 4 that we played him. And Charlie Cameron ate us alive. Will Ashcroft, who's not playing, ate us alive too. And Cameron Rayner. I think Cameron Rayner kicked 4 goals or something. So Cameron Rayner, Charlie Cameron, those 2 guys can just absolutely destroy us. We've seen that. So Isaac Quaynor, John Noble, I don't think they're going to put a Jacob Ryan on someone like that in his first game anyway. But I'd love to see Quaynor, you know, if we think that he's going to be All-Australian or top 40, and he's been in good form recently, put him on a Cameron, let him go up against the best, because he's just going to have to do that in finals anyway. I think the hardest thing for me is, you know, covering Darcy Moore. We said that Billy Frampton goes down, we said that Nathan Murphy goes down. I think that means that Jeremy Howe probably doesn't stay in the forward line. I think he goes down back to cover a Nathan Murphy or to cover a Billy Frampton that are going to be playing on these big guys, so they can't intercept Mark. I think it's a no-brainer for him to sort of go back. I'd love to see him play a forward defensive role like we saw him do last week on Tom Stewart. I just don't see that happening. I'd like to be proven wrong, but I think he just does go back without Darcy Moore. Give us a bit more stability, give us an older head and a more experienced guy down back. But look, my predictions and big call, I do think we win the minor premiership. I really, really do think that we win the minor premiership, which will be a nice little thing. So that's my big call. We win the minor premiership. And I guess my predictions are, it's going to be a really good game. It's going to be a really close, tough game. especially at Marvel. We haven't beaten the Lions since 2019, which is just nuts. That's what, 4 years ago we haven't been. I think they're on a 5 or 6 game winning streak. Obviously, haven't won with Craig McRae at the helm. So I think we're only going to win by about 14 or 15 points. Can my body and mind take this? No, but I think it's going to be a close win. I'd love to win by 40 points, but I just don't see that happening because Brisbane play Marvel so well. It's pretty much their second home when they come down to Melbourne because, why would they play at the MCG? Why would the AFL not put 1v2 at an empty MCG at the moment? But, we're not the powers that be, so we can't answer these questions. But I do think we'll win. I do think we'll win by about 14 points, 2.5 goals. It's going to be really interesting. Want to see how Jacob Ryan goes about it. And yeah, I can't wait. Also, you'll notice my nails. Matildas, up the Tillies. I reckon they're going to beat England 2-1. That's another big call. All without extra time as well. I think we're going to absolutely blitz them. England might be, and just with all the Ashes and stuff going on, and with the netball, we beat them in the netball and stuff. So it'll be very nice if we can do the treble against them. So cricket, netball, and now the soccer. So fingers crossed, up the Tillies. But until then, let me know all your thoughts down below. I really do appreciate all of you. I'll read them all. I'll reply to them if I can. But until then, like, comment, subscribe, Tay family, Tay friends, Tay pets. And until next time, double shackers. I'll swoop you later.